We have these three things that we're trying to learn. We learn them all through our conversations.
Yep.
And we use podcasts as one of the data sources for that. And you talk about using AI in order to get it operationalized, but we kind of didn't get there. Let's talk about that because this is where AI can change the dynamic within the organization for alignment and learning. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yep. So you got to first design what you want, and then can AI help? Instead of the world right now is like AI is going to change this world, we bequeath it that's going to help. And what ends up happening is a lot of times it makes us more efficient, which,
Or it just
and
tells us what we want to hear.
right. Exactly. And by the way, the stats are still all the same. Like 85, 90% of AI installations don't work. The promise is there and we all still believe it, but we don't know how to implement it. And one of the big reasons is we don't define the use cases for what we want. It's help. What do we want? Oh, can AI help us? Instead of AI is going to be a huge help, how do we insert it into what we're already doing? First, what is the use case that we want it to do? Here's what I want it to do. And so I think about the big issues like over 2/3 of content marketing creates sales doesn't even care about. They don't think has any value. We've created this entire marketing department and we have a lot of people working really hard doing stuff to help them. I want to create as a marketer content that sales has to have. They can't live without it. It's so good, right? Those lists of objections, if it helps them address objections that are killing deals in their pipeline, they're going to be raising their hand for more, right?
More, give me more.
Right. Yeah. So we identified those lists, those top 5 lists are get us in at least the right direction of the kind of content that they need. So that's the first thing. Second thing, they don't need long form content. They don't want another blog post, another ebook. I'm not bagging on that. There's definitely roles for that. There's roles for that. What they want is, hey, I just got out of a meeting with this company. Oh, they brought up objection number 3, and now I got to bridge that objection. I got to like really address it and try to get the next meeting. What I need is I need to be able to very simply, in a very tight, small email, follow up and say, hey, thanks for the call yesterday. You brought up a really good point. Here's 2 or 3 things to think about. I'd like to set up another call.
Oh,
Right.
and by the way, here's what one of my customers said about it. Boom, video.
That's it. So now you're bringing in what I call the triad. How do I bring into that email our point of view, the voice of the business, but support it by a single quote, right? From a voice of the customer, or maybe a single quote, a statement of fact that's this long from the voice of the market that leaves that prospect thinking, oh, I can't ignore this. What Ken is saying as a sales guy is supported by my peers and some of the biggest consulting firms in the world. Okay, maybe I need to think about this. I think about this as how do we take the voice of the customer and the voice of the market and the voice of the business? How do we bring them down to single statements that can be assembled together in the smallest forms of communication to make them really powerful?
And not to make the commercial for content strategies, but that's essentially what we're building with the AI infrastructure that you've developed and rolled out to your
Yes.
customers. I can go in and say, here's an objection, help me fight it, help me solve it in real time by using the voice of the customer or the voice of the market and in alignment with the value we can deliver. Boom, there's your 2-paragraph email with a quote from a customer and a link to a video clip.
Yep. So think about it this way. Marketing and sales sat down originally and we co-decided what those top 5 lists are. Like, guys, what are your top 5 objections? What are the ones that are really painful? And they agree. And they were like, okay, those are the ones we're going to help you support. Think about going into an AI tool. Ours is the AI Navigator. Going in and going into the main navigation under buyer intelligence. And then you got objections, challenges, validations. You're that salesperson that had objection number 3. You go into the tool, main navigation, buyer intelligence, objections number 3. And each one of those, we've created a framework. The voice of the business reframes the objection. We'll have it said in a number of different ways, but what's the most important way that we can eloquently frame that so that it has deep meaning, provocative, that you say that to any one of our buyers, they're going to be like, yep, that's it. How do we reframe it as the voice of the business? When we talk about it, we're talking about it. Then how do we affirm it by the voice of the customer? And how do we prove or validate it by the voice of the market? Now, when you go into buyer intelligence, objections, objection number 3, you land on a page that has individual single quotes, single sentences of voice of customer, voice of business, voice of market. Scan through them and go, oh, click, checkbox, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, start prompt. And it's taken those, and now those are the ones, maybe you have 6 or 7, you say, okay, now I need to write an email, right? And then there's an email prompt in there that you can put in your key takeaway. But what you've done is you've boiled this world of voice of the customer, your voice, the voice of the business, the voice of the market, the people that are most trusted, and you've allowed it to boil it down to where it can just be click, 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 write me the email, and now I'm on my way. Very powerful communication if we just break it down into its component parts, little statements, quotes, and facts, and make them easily accessible and use AI to then use our sales email prompts.